So it's just after 6 a.m. Monday morning. I got into the office early. I didn't really do much cleanup here before I left on Saturday. And I'm gonna try and do a couple hours of work before work actually starts. First I have to film the Scale News update because I didn't do that yesterday. Was out playing in the water all day yesterday. So today I need to get that done so I can get that edited beforehand. So I'm not gonna have a ton of time to work on the car before work, but maybe a little bit still, or at least get stuff cleaned and organized so I know where I'm at towards the end of the day. But I'm hoping to get this truck wired today and be able to start just working on final details. That's my hope. I need to do a little bit of planning and maybe try and get a quick mount for the ESC and the deadman switch designed for that back. And I think that would be about as good as I could hope to get for today. So, getting closer. I think I'll have plenty of time to get this done though. That's my prediction, but we'll see. We'll see if I take it down to the wire. But I gotta get to work. So I didn't really get anything done this morning other than shooting the Scale News, but it's 6 o'clock now in the evening after work and ready to dig back into the truck. So what I'm going to do, I've decided to do a few things. I am going to mount the Mamba X in the rear of the vehicle. Gonna mount it here, and then the power shift deadman switch is gonna go kind of above it. Now what I decided to do was I designed up a quick mount that will attach to the VS410 cross brace that I used in there, and it will hold the Mamba X. It'll capture it on the top with these two screws, and it'll give it a place to double-sided tape on the bottom, and then it's also got a spot to mount the deadman switch above it using those two of the 4 screws shown there, as well as some double-sided tape. So that's 3D printing now. That should be done in about a half hour. Allow me to get that mounted. For now, I need to look at a handful of other little things, but mainly it's going to be getting things prepped for the wiring and installation of that. Really, the wiring is the biggest thing I have to do, and beyond that, it's just the rest of the cleanup. So not a ton, but a little bit, and then I am going to have some things to wrap up tomorrow still, depending on when some stuff comes in. And then I also need to get the drive shafts installed, but that should be quick, although I've got a couple of things to do for that first. Shouldn't be a ton of work, but I'm sure it's going to take a little while just because of all the little details, as well as waiting for that mount and getting the last of those things wrapped up. I also need to go pick up some extra batteries for this. I might give the guys over at RC Juice a call and see if they're available tomorrow. Maybe I'd be able to run over there. But that's the plan. Got the laptop going. Should keep me entertained, and hopefully I can sit here and bang this out. So let's jump back into this thing. Alright, so I have the ESC and deadman switch all wired in. I've got my bullet connectors on. Wires come up a little bit where the ESC is. I don't know that it looks crazy out of place, you know. If I was really worried about ultimate scale, you know, I probably wouldn't put it back there. I would have kept the fuel cell, but I don't mind the look of it. Deadman switch is in place. I hardwired it in rather than using the included XT60s like in line so that you could maybe remove it if you perhaps lost this piece. I'm gonna go ahead and just hardwire it in and permanently use this. I like the design and I rearranged everything to use it, so we're just gonna roll the dice and assume that I'm not going to lose this piece. But now I need to go and do all my cleanup on wiring, get everything put in place. I need to get my receiver in there again. I need to get everything just kind of fixed in and cleaned up. But the wiring pretty much wrapped up other than my lights, which I did not do yet. And honestly, I'm just remembering that I didn't do the lights yet. So I need to splice the power for the lights back in. Can't believe I forgot that. I was just trucking along. So, not quite done yet, but making progress still. Back to more wiring. All right, it's getting late. It is after 10 o'clock and I've got the car wired, and then I ran into something that was really kind of confused me at first. Now, I've got the dead man switch in the back, and you can see the lights on the Castle ESC, and you can see that they went off, back on. Works really smooth, really handy. That's exactly what I thought. However, it wasn't functioning at first, and I was wondering if I somehow grounded a wire or crossed it. But what it turned out to be was the light controller that I've got in here. If it is plugged in, so now with my light controller plugged in, you can see it cycling through the light positions. I'll leave those on so you can see. Now, if I take out the switch, nothing turns off. And it turns out that it's back feeding power back through the light controller, you know, to the ESC, basically through the receiver. So I'm going to try and do some stuff. I might just be able to pull the power wire out of the light controller, and I'm wondering if that will do it. This light controller is powered from 12 volt directly. That's because these are high output lights up front, so it needs an external 12 volt power supply, and I think that's what it's back feeding. So I'm going to try some experimenting and see if that works. All right, it is 10:45. Time to get going. I did fix my problem. So it was actually the ground back feeding through the receiver, since the ground is what the dead man switch actually interrupts. So I needed to move the external power source from the Hey OK switch to the other side of the dead man switch. Basically, I should have hooked it up on that side anyway. I should have known that. Just wasn't really thinking through all of this. But, you know, every once in a while those things happen. So I should have spent tonight finishing up the wiring, cleaning it up instead of troubleshooting all this, but that didn't happen. So I'll need to get this cleaned up tomorrow and go from there. I wanted to go over kind of what the Ripper was tonight, because some people had asked. I just didn't really, you know, have a chance. I hadn't really gone over the Ripper in depth on the channel before. You know, we built this chassis for Axialfest last year. It's an, you know, the all billet chassis. It was done as a fun, just kind of exercise project that we did here in the shop. We were only going to build a handful of them, and then enough people asked that they wanted them that we offered them for sale. It's a very expensive setup, and it takes a lot of time to produce. You know, the Ripper chassis is $18.99, and that includes the chassis. This part, you have to supply the frame rails. It includes the milled body panels, and then it includes the links, the sway bar, the Q series. It comes with a front light bar and a rear light bar. This one is not the production version. The production version is a little bit different here in the door. It's got a straight bar with a B pillar. Then it's got some panel mounting back here for a separate number panel. My number panels are built into the rear panels, but we improved some of those things. And then just a number of little things were improved, like the smoothness of the milling and things like that. But there's a lot to it. It's definitely not something for everyone. It's a rare, and it takes a lot of work to. It's a rare and, you know, high-end piece. Definitely not like a normal production part for us. But I'll go over the Ripper chassis more in depth. I'll try to tomorrow. I've got a completely clean, brand new version that Brandon here in the office just finished for Axialfest. It's his personal rig, and I'll kind of go over that. I also have some of the raw pieces. I can show you what these things look like right after they come off of the machine. So I'll take the opportunity and go through all of that stuff tomorrow. Tonight, this took way longer than I had hoped. So I'm gonna try and get in here early tomorrow morning and do a little bit more work beforehand, and then finish it up tomorrow night, I hope. So, all right, that's it for real. Wrapped up the wiring underneath, put the interior back in, just got everything kind of trimmed and in place. So now I'm ready to just kind of do final you know, it's wiring's all wrapped up. I did not do drive shafts yet tonight. I'll get those done. So I got something for that. That's a project for tomorrow that I can knock out then. Other than that, I do need to do some work on the shock still. That's one last thing I have to do. I might put a little bit firmer spring in the rear or stand it up. I haven't decided which direction I'm going to go yet. But from there, it's just little bits of tuning, little bits of cleanup, final look over, and maybe some final details on the look. We'll see exactly how that shakes out. I'm still waiting to hear back on if I'm going to be able to knock out everything I was planning. But I got to get out of here. It is late. It is 11 o'clock already. So that's going to call it for tonight. I'm going to get packed up, get out of here, get home. So with that, guys, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.